Hello YouTube! I'm Nightmare X and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about a vault. And not the Disney vault, DC's vault. You guys didn't know that DC Comics had a vault a lot like Disney, did you? Well, it's a little different. DC has a vault for characters only appearing on cartoons. They kind of go in a vault and they never show up again. So, your evil is unwanted here! Let me see here. So yeah, certain characters, even in live action shows, sometimes, characters show up and then never show up in comics. Some characters get their start in TV shows. Harley Quinn got her start on Batman the Brave and the Bold. So, there you go. And now she's one of the most popular Batman villains out there. So, sometimes the vault doesn't suck people in, and sometimes it does. It just depends. I don't really know on what. I'm having a really hard time understanding why these characters got put in the vault in the first place. Because if you think about it, they're really good characters. Some of them. But here are the ones that I would want to be in comics. I made a list of 10. So, number 1 is Luminous from Superman the Animated Series. Luminous was a scientist that made this suit, and the wearer could turn light into a weapon, basically. They could cast out beams of light from the hands. They could fly somehow. They could turn light into a solid object to make duplicates. I don't really know how that one works, but Luminous was really tough against Superman, and I don't know. He gave him a run for his money many times. It's been literally years since I watched that show, though. So, somehow the Arsenal held up good against Superman. But, anyways, Luminous has a lot of powers that are just unseen if you're looking anywhere else. The Shade has powers kinda like his, but it's the opposite. Luminous and the Shade can pretty much do the same things, but Luminous uses light and Shade uses shadows. And number 2 on this list is Fang from Teen Titans. Fang is, well, he's the same age as the team, so he's probably a teenager. And he he's a little different. Like, his head is not a head. It's an entire it's an entire spider. His head is an entire spider. So it helps him move faster. The spider legs are longer than his legs, so he could just lift himself up with the spider legs and use the spider body to walk. He actually only did that to scale that building, I think. He only shows up in one episode, but he can walk up the side of buildings. He can, I think he can shoot webs from his mouth. Because logic, but in the comics that would be a great villain. It would go pretty far. And the fact that his girlfriend was Killer Moth's daughter, I mean, that would modernize Killer Moth, and I want that. Number 3 is one you guys are not really gonna agree with, but I like him because he's comical. You know, you look at this character and you think the creator had fun making this guy. And you don't see that much. It's Condiment King. So he's mostly just a nuisance. He was a comedian, but he made a joke about how the villains in Gotham look silly. And then Joker came after him and used his Joker venom, whatever, to hypnotize him into thinking he was a villain. So he becomes Condiment King. So, what does he do? Well, he shoots ketchup and mustard from actual containers, like the old style containers. Now this one's kind of cheating. He's not really in the vault. He has come to comics, but he hasn't really done anything. Well, there was that one time he weaponized peanut butter. He made a type of peanut butter that would give anyone a allergic reaction. And it almost killed Robin, actually. So, I mean, maybe he can be a threat. Maybe. Next is Volcana from Superman the Animated Series. Now, she's a little different. Her powers are fire. Like, she can project fire and fly. For some reason. So, what happened was, when she started committing crimes in Metropolis and basically showed herself, Superman tried to train her and make an ally. Tried to. It didn't really work. She just couldn't deal with things that she was going through. She was being edgy. But after that, Supergirl got introduced to the show, and they had some great fights. I think in the comics she would be pretty good against a lot of other characters because we really had a limited roster as far as heroes in that show. But next is another one from Superman the Animated Series. The 90s, why? There were so many one-off characters in this particular show. I don't know what's up with that. You look at shows like Young Justice. Well, what about the professor thing with the gray skin and the horns, and he could talk to other creatures because he was one of the Cadmus monsters, basically, from when they found Superboy. Because logic. I mean, the professor thing, not really a person, but was he brought to comics? Was he? So anyways, back to the list. Number 5 is the Preserver. Now let's talk about this guy in depth. Okay, his game was he collected the last of everything. So he collected Superman and Lobo because they were the last of their species. Well, each of their species. Even though Superman's not really the last Kryptonian. Not really. There's Supergirl, there's Hell, now that we've seen Hell on Earth, there's Hell. I'm trying to think of more Kryptonians that are alive, actually. Zod. Faora. That's Zod's little henchman girl. Oh, he did have a henchman, a guy. Non. But he wasn't in the movie. But the Preserver tried to collect the last of everything. And when he was thwarted, when Lobo escaped and then broke out Superman, or maybe it was the other way around, I don't know. The Preserver turned into this red four-legged creature. It was really similar to Wild Mutt from Ben 10, except there was no hair and it was red. And it might have had eyes, I don't know. But that's pretty drastic. Like, it was huge. So the Preserver is a shapeshifter, and we don't know, basically, the limits of his shapeshifting. So in the comics, he would be a pretty formidable force. The next one on the list is another one from Teen Titans. Number 6 is Kid Wicked. Now, if you're not familiar with Hive and the sort of love triangle that was in Hive, Kid Wicked is sort of a ninja, I guess. He's a lot like Robin, but a dark Robin. He's like a really young Nightwing. And he can't speak, so there's that. In the comics, I think it would be nice if they made him older. That's a thing. And I don't even think his costume would need to be modernized. I mean, it looked a little retro, but I think it works. You know, like Spawn, for example. It's an old style costume. You know, the cape with the collar that goes way up here. That's old school. We don't really do that in comics anymore, but it works for Spawn. Like, he still does that. Kid Wicked having the costume mask part that goes like this, it might work for him because he's a dark, mysterious ninja sort of guy. You know, the eye piece on the mask kinda, I don't know. It's like a masquerade mask for a girl. Number 7 on the list is another one from Teen Titans. There are some different shows on here, guys. But number 7 is Ultimate Fire Demon. Now, this guy only showed up in one episode. It's the episode with Thunder and Lightning, who were not part of the Vault. They were in the comics, but then they were forgotten about. Their wikis have been stripped blank and possibly deleted. It's really hard to find anything on Thunder and Lightning now. But Ultimate Fire Demon is a character from the same episode. What happened was, Thunder and Lightning started off as bad guys, but they didn't really have experience, so they wanted to test their powers. So they ran into Slade, and Slade told them to use the lightning that they both sort of created or conducted, I don't know. Anyways, to use lightning to make scarecrows burst into flames. But there was sort of a trick there. The scarecrows were aligned perfectly in a shape, and that shape was the mark of Trigon, there's another name for it, but I forget. I forget now. Anyways, it's the symbol that has a lot to do with Trigon and what eventually happened to Raven. And Ultimate Fire Demon, when this sign was created by the burning scarecrows, it kind of opened up a portal, and Ultimate Fire Demon came out. And then Thunder had to use rain to stop him. He was just a big burning skeleton. And the fact that he came out of a portal that was created by making the symbol of Trigon, it makes it obvious that this demon is either a servant of Trigon or one of his children. And neither one would surprise me at this point, because Trigon employed anybody. Even though this thing was most likely in constant pain from being on fire, I don't think Trigon would have cared that much. I think he would have still tried to get help from this thing, even by force. So, in the comics, the Ultimate Fire Demon could have a tragic story, or it could just be really tough. A really tough foe. Especially for, like, Superman. There's an idea. Put it against Superman. Or Batman. Because Batman doesn't really have a way to stop it. You know, putting it against Batman would be like... It would be a really good match, because Batman just has no way to stop it. Number 8 is Turnion, also from Teen Titans. Turnion or Ternion, I don't know. It's 3 villains basically put together. I don't know how Slade pulled that one off, but it had something to do with Terra and maybe magic. But Slade used this machine, some little contraption that he had in his hand. He threw it, and it made these 3 villains combine into one. And separately they were Overload, Cinderblock, and Plasmus. Now, if we bring Ternion into comics, we would have to bring those 3 into comics. But Plasmus has already been in the comics. He didn't really do anything, but he was there. Those villains, though, they were just muscle. Like, they were never seen as real problems. There was always someone behind those 3 guys specifically. Well, except for when they were starting out. In the beginning, Plasmus worked alone, and I don't know about the other 2. But put together, those 3 would be very powerful. And the fight they had with the Teen Titans, I mean, Turnion basically wrecked every single Titan. Oh boy. Another one that the creator just had fun with. And he was like, let's make this because why not? It's Egghead from the 60s Batman series. Egghead was this thief, or I guess he was more of a crime lord, because he sort of had this organized crime thing going, where it was like a business for him, with his associate, Miss Bacon. But anyway, his schemes were always egg-based, and he talked in constant egg puns. And I don't know what else. I'm literally just gonna leave you with that, and you can ponder that all night. It's 6 in the morning. It's not night anymore. I spent way too long trying to think of a thing to make this video about, because I didn't know. I didn't know what I was gonna do. So, Ashley, I'm sorry I didn't do this soon enough. I might sleep in. I don't know. I'll probably post this at 10 because it's so late. But, yeah. Egghead. So finally, number 10 on our list is Pollux from the 90s Flash series. Now this is not an animated series, well neither was the 60s Batman series, but this guy deserves a spot on our list. Pollux was a clone of the Flash, and he was not really a good guy. He was a secret. Basically, people were not supposed to know that he existed. And when people found out, someone got shot. Well, that someone was trying to shoot Pollux because he wasn't supposed to exist. And Pollux basically turned the bullet back on the guy by just grabbing it and throwing it. And I think someone else must have shot Pollux after that, because he did die. I don't really remember how. But he died in that same scene. So it had to be something like that. Someone else fired another shot. Something. Maybe it was the same guy and he was just in the process of dying and was like not there yet. I don't know. But that is my list of 10 characters in the DC Vault. And you didn't know there was a vault for DC characters like there is a vault for Disney movies. And now you know. This is the story you never knew. But don't tell Treecicle. Alright. I will see you next time. Peace.